Do you ever look back at a plant you bought and ask yourself, why did I waste my hard-earned money on that? Yeah, same. And we're gonna be roasting some of them today. I'm gonna share with you 10 plants that I completely regret buying, why you should skip them, and yes, there are gonna be a lot of philodendrons on this list. Sorry, not sorry. And speaking of philodendrons, I guess we should start with the first plant, which is of course gonna be the Philodendron Pink Princess. Just like everybody else, I fell for the hype, I fell for the beauty of the Pink Princess. Seeing so many amazing photos of this plant online has definitely made me want to purchase it myself. I was so freaking excited when I bought my specimen, when I placed the order. I was waiting for the package arrived, I was unboxing it, just so excited, and then I was hit with utter disappointment. What I got wasn't the thing that I saw in all of those amazing pictures, but instead I got a brown, ugly mess. And that's my story with the Pink Princess. Being the optimist that I am, I thought to myself, it's okay, Matt. We can fix this. She'll grow out of her ugly phase. You just need to give her some TLC. And boy, oh boy, I tried. I tried everything. Good lighting, good watering. I tried it in soil. I tried it in pond. Nothing worked for this plant. This plant was just not happy and unwilling to survive. I was not able to get a single pretty leaf on that plant. They would usually get stuck and do the philodendron Cinderella foot thing. Even if they did unfurl, the leaves that I did get were just ugly. I wanted a Pink Princess, but instead I got a Poopy Princess. She was brown. After struggling with this plant for years, after trying every single trick in the book, after restarting it, I don't even know how many times, I just decided that this plant is not for me. I still love the look of a beautiful Pink Princess. I will never ever be bringing back a Pink Princess into my collection. Not onto my roof. But I am curious, are you team save the Pink Princess, or did yours end up in the compost just like mine did? This is a plant that I can absolutely appreciate from afar, and whenever I see it online in other people's collections and they have beautiful specimens of this plant, I'm very happy for them. It's just a diva and not in a positive way. I just cannot recommend the Pink Princess to anybody. And honestly, I think it would have been better if I just burned the money that I spent. I feel like I would get more entertainment out of it than I did out of that plant. The next plant that we're going to be talking about is going to be the Thaumatophyllum Xanadu. I actually got this plant back when it was called a Philodendron Xanadu. So that's a long time ago. And I got this plant mainly because of the shape of the leaves. I think the silhouette is so stunning. And I did enjoy growing this plant. It was rather easy, but, and I learned this the hard way, it is a huge thrips magnet. And thrips absolutely devour literally thin-leaved plants. And the Xanadu was also one of my first encounters with thrips. And as a beginner plant parent, the first time you get thrips, it's so freaking scary. I was Googling what the hell is going on? What are these little pests on my plants? I quickly found out that it's thrips. I quickly found out that they are extremely difficult to get rid of, and I panicked. I've lost so many hours of sleep, so many hours of my day just trying to wipe these fuckers down, trying to eliminate them, and to no avail. They would just keep on returning. I was devastated. So what I ended up doing is honestly just tossing it onto my balcony and letting God take over. For a while, the plant was actually doing pretty well. Ultimately, because of my neglect and because it was getting blasted by the sun, it died, and I ended up tossing it. I am not willing to deal with thrips. I have been dealing with thrips for years. Literally ever since I found them on that Xanadu, I have had a multiple year long battle with thrips. And only this year, 2026, only literally 3 months ago, did I manage to actually eradicate my thrips issue. Knock on wood. I finally found something that actually worked for the thrips, and ever since treating my entire collection, which was a process, I haven't seen a single thrip. And I really want it to stay that way. So I am not going to be bringing back plants that are really susceptible to thrips. And another thing that I just didn't really enjoy about this plant is how much horizontal space it was taking up, because it has a very wide wingspan. And for those two reasons, the Xanadu is gonna be a Xanadon't from me. Okay, we're gonna be talking about another hyped philodendron, and that's gonna be the Philodendron Birkin. I have a theory that half of the reason why this plant is so popular is just because of its name. Similar story to the Pink Princess. I saw pictures of it online. It looked really striking. I really like white variegation, so this was very much up my alley. I got the plant, and you know what? In the beginning of it, I actually kind of enjoyed it. However, it reverted. Once this plant reverts, it just pushes out such boring, ugly green leaves. And that's not really what I'm here for. What I wanted was the cool white stripy leaves, and what I got was just a basic green leafed plant. And I also just don't enjoy the growth pattern of self-heading plants. I have a hard time styling self-heading plants such as the Philodendron Birkin. And ultimately, because of my neglect, it did end up getting thrips as well. And at that point, I was just like, you know what? Goodbye. And I tossed it in the compost, and I haven't looked back since. I was tempted by the pink Birkin because I saw it online in a couple of plant shops, and I was like, oh, that looks cute. Maybe I should give it a try. Then I just remembered my hatred towards the regular Philodendron Birkin. And I find that plants that have that thick, green, shiny texture honestly just kind of look fake, not in a good way. If you're looking at a Birkin and thinking about buying one, honestly, I just say skip it. There's so many better options out there. Save your coin, girl. Save your coin. The next plant is a plant that I feel like I've been holding hostage for years, and that is the Rhaphidophora Decursiva. I absolutely love a climbing, beautiful, big Rhaphidophora Decursiva. The leaf shape, the leaf color is so unique. It's so interesting. It's so fun. And I did enjoy growing this plant for the time that I've had it. It was a very easy plant, but unfortunately, because it's a climber, it needs some kind of support, whether that be a coco pole or ideally a moss pole. I initially didn't give my plant a moss pole, so what ended up happening is runners, lots and lots of runners. Now I find that this plant is slow growing as is, but then when you get a huge vine without a single leaf on it, or like one little piddly leaf, it just feels so discouraging. So I just ended up using that plant purely as a filler plant. It ended up in literally the darkest corner of my studio. I wasn't watering it. I wasn't fertilizing it. I wasn't repotting it. I actually did take a cutting once, and I did try growing it up a moss pole, thinking that maybe once I grow it up a moss pole, maybe once I get that gorgeous, beautiful growth, I will actually fall in love with the plant again, but to no avail. Unfortunately, growing it up a moss pole just felt boring. It still didn't size up properly, and it still had a tendency to run. So although part of the issue here is definitely that I didn't provide it with the correct conditions, I just find that this plant is not for me. This is just another one of those plants that I can appreciate in other people's collections, but I'm not gonna be bringing that plant back into my collection. It's gonna be a no for me. Let's just talk about the next plant, which is the Hoya Australis. Not the Australis Lisa, because I did have that one as well, and I did like the Australis Lisa. And the reason why I'm never gonna be growing this plant again is just because it's boring. Oh my god, I have never met a more boring plant in my life. And I love Hoyas. I really do. I love silver plants. I like dark plants. I like variegated plants. I like plants with cool leaf shapes. I need some kind of visual element in a plant that will interest me. But the Australis has None of that. And on top of that, it's a very fast grower, which you would think is a good thing. However, with Hoyas, fast growth means also that you have to constantly upsize its trellis. Unlike plants like, for example, the Crimson Queen, the Hoya Australis cannot be a trailing plant. I tried it, and it looked like poo-poo. It looked like absolute garbage as a trailing plant. You have to trellis this plant if you want it to look beautiful. It was just too much maintenance for what it was providing and what it was giving, and it was giving literally nothing. It didn't even give me a single bloom. That's the kicker. I've had a pretty big, beautiful specimen of the Australis, so I was like, okay, at least if it gives me blooms, at least I'll get some sort of satisfaction out of that plant. It never bloomed. It never even gave me a peduncle. And the blooms aren't anything to write home about. They're really, really boring as well. It didn't even do that for me. That plant went right into the bin. Honestly, I don't even remember what happened to that plant. Lord knows. But if you want a Hoya Australis, I would recommend getting the Lisa. At least the Lisa has a fun variegation, but the regular one, chop. Another one that got me because it was popular and hyped online, and that is the Ficus Shiveriana. I absolutely love ficuses. I had the regular Ficus Burgundy. I had a Taniki. Obviously, I needed to get myself the Shiveriana because that plant was so hot a couple of years ago, and I really loved it in the beginning. I really, really liked it, but the more I was growing that plant, the more I hated it. I was always kind of on the fence when it comes to mottled variegation. That plant quickly made me realize that I hate it. It looked always sick and it always had some sort of issue, whether that be spider mites or browning. And it just never looked good, and it didn't grow as well and robustly as my Taniki or my Burgundy. And I did give that plant really, really good conditions. I was taking really, really good care of it, but unfortunately I got literally nothing in return. One season, one summer, I just kind of let it die. I think I still have this plant back at my mom's place. It's maybe a stump with a leaf or two. If I were to bring a Elastica back into my collection, it would be either the Burgundy or the Taniki. The Shiveriana, I wanted to love it. I really did. I fell for the hype, unfortunately, as with a lot of these plants. It's one that I definitely regret buying. And regret is a strong word. I don't regret a lot of things in my life, but I could have spent my money a lot wiser, I'm not gonna lie. And you thought we were done hating on philodendrons? Absolutely not, because the next plant that we're gonna be shitting on, that I'm gonna be talking about, is gonna be the Philodendron Silver Sword. This one catfished me so freaking badly. I love a silver plant. I love the color of the silver sword. The shape, I'm not really a huge fan of it. I know a lot of people grow that plant because of the sword-like shape. I'm not really interested in that shape. I prefer a heartleaf shape, but the color, the silver, mwah, chef's kiss, absolutely beautiful. I was drooling after this plant for such a long time, and when I got it, I was so happy with my specimen. I got a pretty mature specimen. It did have some damage on it. It didn't look that great. I decided naively to restart this plant, and that's where all of my troubles began. This is such a hard plant to mature. I don't know why, because it's a philodendron, and generally philodendrons are quite easy. I understand when velvety philodendrons are difficult, but this was just irregular, waxy leaved philodendron. Other than the silver and the shape, there is really nothing to write home about. But for some reason, this plant was extremely difficult to size up, constantly throw out runners, the leaves would get stuck, and it just wasn't pretty. On top of that, as with a lot of philodendrons, it is an absolute thrips magnet. So it ended up getting thrips multiple times. I tried multiple times restarting this plant, growing it up a moss pole, growing it in pond, growing it in soil. I literally tried everything to no avail. So one day I just decided that I've had enough and that I'm gonna be getting rid of that plant. And I had a lot of cuttings, a lot of wet sticks, and I just threw all of them into the garbage. I was just so done with that plant. There is a variegated variety of this plant out there on the market, but I can only imagine how much more difficult that plant is because of the variegation. The silver sword, although I love it, is not coming back into my collection. If you get a mature one and just let it grow from there, I think you're gonna have a lot more luck than growing it from like a small plant, or of course if you have ideal conditions. But my videos are not for people who have ideal conditions. My videos are for lazy plant girlies like myself who grow plants in ambient and want to go down the path of least resistance. And unfortunately, the silver sword did nothing but give me resistance. I guess it's fitting because it's a sword. Oh, the next one is another cool plant, in theory. It's a plant that grows beautifully up a moss pole and that looks beautifully when sized up, but unfortunately it made for a shit trailing plant. And I'm talking about the Monstera Siltepecana. Now, this is another plant that I feel like was very popular. I bought one and I was growing it as a primarily trailing plant. I think I did try growing it up a moss pole once, but I just didn't enjoy growing that plant, period. It just didn't look that great. The patterning was kind of just smudgy. It loved to throw out runners. The leaves are very paper thin, so it was also susceptible to pests. And it just had kind of a very sickly, fragile look to it all the time. It never looked healthy. Even when it was receiving good conditions and good care, it just looked kind of bad. And I was never able to diagnose why. I've had the regular Siltepecana, and I know that there is the El Salvador that when you grow it up a moss pole can size up beautifully, and I think that specimen is gorgeous. I'm not really one for growing plants up moss poles anymore. I've been down that road before. I'm kind of tired of moss poles and honestly even tired of climbing plants. I want trailing plants. I love trailing plants, but I feel like there are so many better trailing plants out there. The Siltepecana, kind of a meh. I'm better off just getting any sort of hardleaf philodendron or pothos if I want like a lush trailing plant. And another trailing plant that unfortunately tends to look very laggy and sickly is the Scindapsus Treubii Moonlight. Back to the whole thing about silver plants. I love the color of this plant. It's gorgeous, it's beautiful, but I've had a really hard time growing this plant. It's another one that tends to just throw out so many runners or piddly leaves, ugly leaves, sickly leaves. And listen, I get it. These plants in nature are climbers. And especially in my home where I'm not giving it the best light, I'm not supplementing humidity, it's obviously not gonna look the best. I get that. But I don't need it to look immaculate. I just need like a good, healthy, trailing plant. Like my Scindapsus exotica. This is what I wanted out of my Treubii Moonlight. Instead, I just got empty vines and disappointment. And I was really hyped about this plant. I was really excited to own it. And I was also in that kind of collect them all mindset where I wanted to have all of the varieties of Scindapsus. I wanted to have the Argyreus, the Moonlight, the Dark Form, the Platinum. And ultimately, all of them kind of disappointed me. And the only one that I still have left in my collection is my exotica, who I absolutely love. And although I did love the moonshine initially, it just got boring so freaking fast. And we finally made it to the end of this list, to plant number 10. And honestly, if you're still here with me, you're a champion and I love you. And we're gonna be ending it with the Epipremnum Giganteum. I actually never even wanted this plant. I got this plant by accident, or by mistake, I should say. I bought what I thought was a Rhaphidophora megasperma. I think that's what it's called. It has another name, but the Rhaphidophora that has really cool inner fenestrations. That's the plant that I saw on a plant shop. It was marketed as that plant. I bought it, I got it, and then I was like, well, this looks a little bit different. But I didn't realize initially the difference. Epipremnum doesn't get those fenestrations. That was the whole point. That was the reason why I wanted the Rhaphidophora, because of the fenestrations. I got no fenestrations. And then a couple of weeks later, when checking back onto that plant shop, I saw that they changed the name of that listing to Epipremnum Giganteum. And I was like, oh, I bought the wrong plant. Whoops. So I ended up with this plant. I mean, I grew it. I put it on a moss pole. It grew well. I think I still have it back at home. It was just so boring. I'm sorry. It's so freaking boring. I cannot believe that I wasted a moss pole, that I wasted soil, that I wasted a pot on a plant that's so boring. And it also took up so much space because it's clearly in the name, it's gigantic. So it took up way too much space for what it was delivering. However, I will say there is the variegated variety of this plant, which is, I believe, a lot more popular out there. There are actually a couple of variegated varieties of this plant. Variegated varieties are actually really cool, and I would love to grow one of those. So potentially, if I came across a variegated Epipremnum Giganteum for a good price, I might snag it. So I can't say that I would never get this plant back into my collection. I wouldn't get the regular green one because it's just boring. And it also just ended up not being the plant that I really wanted, which just added to the layer of frustration when it came to this plant. Honestly, I'm kind of thankful that I didn't end up getting that Rhaphidophora, just because I feel like it's another climber. I would probably have gotten tired and rid of it eventually. Everything turned out fine in the end. The disappointment of finding out that I bought the wrong plant. So the Epipremnum Giganteum is kind of a regret. Nothing wrong with the plant itself. Like, it's a fine plant. It never had any pest issues. It grew really well. It wasn't fussy about its conditions. It was just not my cup of tea. That's it. But anyway, I do hope you enjoyed this video. Comment down below what's your biggest plant regret. And if you would like to see me roast some more plants, click on this video over here. I hope you have a super amazing, fabulous, gorgeous day, and I will see you in the next one. Goodbye!